Hey everybody, welcome back. It is 107 degrees outside right now in Abu Dhabi. I am on my way to the grocery store. I have my mask and my gloves in my pocket because that's what's required here when you're shopping. I'm sure it's like that in many states still back in the US. But I wanted to take you with me because we have some updates. It's been a while since my last spy relocation update, and it's because so much has changed. My giant hair is still the same. It's continuing to grow, along with my son's gigantic hair, of course. But what has changed is that we are having all sorts of challenges trying to get any place. Airlines are changing their departure dates. Countries are changing their restrictions on border crossings. There's a constant shift in what nationalities are going to be allowed to come into what countries at what times. And even though people are setting deadlines where they say, hey, we'll make a decision by the 14th of June, or we'll make a decision by the 1st of June or the 1st of July or in May, those decisions are all changing. Everything is in flux, which is making it difficult not just for us to confirm where we're going to go, but we have made purchases that then come back and some of them get rejected because they're no longer valid, or they get changed and we get some kind of offer saying that we're off the hook. We no longer have to take this. We can cancel for a full refund. Some of those, we actually purchased flights and then the airline came back and said that they were canceling the flight, but we couldn't get a refund because they were only going to give us back the money in the form of credits on that airline. So that's making things a little bit more difficult and tricky for us. And then to add on top of all of that, there's this huge demand in the United States right now for private intelligence for multiple reasons. Not only have the Chinese and the Iranians and the North Koreans really picked up their hacking efforts since the coronavirus came out, that's driving a whole lot of demand in the commercial sector, but then the US military and the US intelligence infrastructure has basically been they've been shut down since March. So months of training time have been lost to the US government, the CIA, the NSA, DIA. They've all had to shut down training, and that's a pipeline that can't be shut down for very long. So what's happening is the demand in the US from say July through the end of the year has just skyrocketed, looking for people to come out and train these intelligence professionals in the military, in border security, in the intelligence world. So what that means for us is that we basically have to decide, do we take the surefire bet of getting on a repatriation flight that takes us back to the United States, that's the only flight that's going to be guaranteed to us right now, because we are Americans, American passport holders, and those repatriation flights are beyond, they're outside of the profitability calculation that airlines have to make. So they have to let the repatriation flights go. So do we take the surefire bet and go back to the US, focus on the business, spend time with family, get reacquainted with the US, stay there throughout the election cycle, which is actually very appealing to us because if you're in the US and you cast your vote, then your vote counts. But if you're outside of the US and you cast your vote, then there's all these secondary and tertiary rules that have to come into effect before anybody counts your vote. And this is a year that we really want our vote to count. So I guess my question to you out there is, would you like to see us return back to the US and then document that journey for you? Or would you like to see us continue to kind of fight the battle out here and see where we can go and when we can go? I don't know that I'm going to be able to do what the majority asks for, because ultimately my boss is my wife, but I am curious, what would you like to see? Would you like to see us come back to the US? Once we get back to the US, we can do all sorts of cool stuff because we don't have to worry about all the social media laws and all the social distancing laws that we have and that are different from city to city and country to country. Or would you like to see us keep on pressing on to see where we're going to go out here, which ultimately could leave us with no options except to go back to the United States? We don't know. But I want to hear from you. And the last thing I want to show you is that if you follow the Everyday Spy training blog that I put out there, I put out almost every week a new article on how to apply my CIA training into your everyday life. I just wrote an article talking about sources of instant energy, basically natural glucose, natural fructose, sources that are available anywhere in the world for cheap. And one of the sources I talked about were dates. And I talked about how dates are available all around the world because they grow on date palms with almost no water, and they grow in abundance, and that makes them cheap and easy to find. Well, I wanted to show you just how cheap and easy it is to find dates. So here I am in my apartment complex, where we have, just like every apartment complex, local vegetation that's used for all of the plant life in the area. And one of the most common forms of local vegetation in the desert is the date palm. So here you see a date palm in the middle of my apartment complex. This is just another palm tree basically where I live. But inside these green sacks, you'll see bundles of dates. This is how dates grow. They grow by the hundreds. Take a look at this. So many of these things grow in one bundle on one tree, and there are multiple bundles on each tree, and all the locals have to do is come out with basically a green mosquito net, wrap that net around the limbs, and here in about 2.5, 3 weeks maybe, they're gonna come and cut those little limbs off, and they're gonna have 600 dates in a bushel that just need to get rinsed, and then they're ready to sell. And that's just one date palm in my complex. If you look, all of these date palms that you see, they all have the same thing going. They all have dates growing off them by the hundreds. So here in my little courtyard, we're talking about, 8,000 dates that can be sold, that can be consumed, that bring you instant energy, and that's here in the desert. So that's why the Bedouin people and the original nomadic tribes that populated the Middle East, that's how they were able to travel and live, because they could basically clip off a stick of dates, and those dates would give them all the energy and all the focus and all the reserves that they need in terms of basic sugar, which runs your blood system, it runs your brain. Everything you need can be found in a date, with the exception of protein, which they can find through insects, through snakes, through reptiles along the way. But take a look at Everyday Spy, look for my Spy Hack section, and inside Spy Hacks, you'll find an article called Instant Energy, where I talk about dates, and I talk about 4 other really common instant types of foods that will give you instant energy. The stuff that we use in the field everywhere we go, because you can find a date anywhere in the world for cheap, and nobody ever suspects that you are a foreigner operating abroad if you're sitting there eating a date. It's not like if you're eating an American brand name energy bar and you're trying to walk through downtown Moscow without being picked up. But anyways, that's it for what I have to share with you today. I'm looking for your feedback. Do you want to see us go back to the US? Do you want to see us keep up the fight? And if you have any comments on my instant energy article, I'd love for you to drop it here in YouTube so that everybody can see it. But otherwise, I'll talk to you later, and I'll have updates as soon as I have them. See ya.